Man lives what has been mythologically expressed by the dismemberment of Dionysus by the Titans. He lives as a collection of unconnected reactions, instincts, and desires without any central will whatsoever. And this corresponds to the state of confusion and multiplicity within the perceptible world, within the world of the senses. So, with a continuous internal question, what is truly mine, a human being starts separating his essence from all the external admixtures, the programmings, the traumas, and all the social software that is installed from childhood. The myth of Procrustes, the social mutilating power. The story of Procrustes and Theseus is one of the labors that Theseus had to complete on his journey from Thrasyna to Athens to prove his worth, similar to what Hercules did. Procrustes trapped the travelers by offering them hospitality and a nice bed to sleep in. His bed was quite peculiar. If the guest was shorter than the bed, Procrustes would stretch and pull him to reach the bed's length. If the guest was longer than the bed, Procrustes would cut off his limbs, his feet, his hands, his head to fit exactly. In this way, no one ever naturally fit the bed, which symbolized a very rigid, murderous even, destructive model of homogenizing human consciousness imposed by an evil, predatory authority. The bed and sleep naturally symbolize exactly this spiritual sleep, the unconsciousness, the trap into which most people fall, never reaching self-knowledge. So, instead of the framework adapting to the unique nature of a human being, as in the philosophical politeia, where law is a reflection of the very nature of things and the very nature of every individual, the state mutilates or deforms the human being to fit the predetermined socio-political model. So if a person exceeds, has independent thought, internal law, they are mutilated, restricted, controlled, or marginalized. If a person falls short, is without will, a passive recipient, they are deformed, stretched, and injected then with artificial needs, with fears and desires. If you think what music is geometry in motion. Everything that moves, in the process of moving, it produces harmony. It is motion in order, and is subject to specific rules in order for this order to be produced. Otherwise, we have disorder, we have chaos. So, just as the composer is called from the many notes, the rests, the tonalities, the scales, the intervals, the various rhythms, to produce something that will have coherence so that we can call it a composition, so too a human being is called to reach such a point of perception that he can bring himself into order. And why war? Because the war between opposites, of duality. Because, as Plato says, to conquer yourself is the brightest of all battles. But how many people achieve this victory? Very few. The Greeks had a very different conception of what we call music today. Music comes from the verb mao, which means to devise, to seek, or to pursue something spiritually and is connected to spiritual search and invention. The freedom of one does not conflict with the freedom of the other because it presupposes the knowledge of the self's essence and the knowledge of how human psychosynthesis works and how virtues like egratia, which is self-control, ataraxia, which is tranquility, sophrosini, which is prudence, are achieved. All these things are recipes, and every school of philosophy was a series of methods for achieving eudaimonia. To put it simple, it kind of means flourishing and also spiritual freedom. That's what eudaimonia means. The word harmonia, which is harmony, comes from the verb armozo, which is to join and connect, to fit. And the word armos means a join and a gap. It's a joint between two different building blocks. So the very etymology of harmonia implies the idea of connection, of fitting together, and of correct proportion. Armos is the point where two or more surfaces meet. The gap in this sense is the nous. Nous means mind, higher mind. It is what is hidden behind the noise of uncontrolled thoughts, of desires, emotions. The armos, the silent space. Armos is the joint or gap where things fit, and this is where we get harmonia from. The logos, which is the rational part of the soul, must gain control and harmonize the other parts of the soul, which is the spirited part and the appetitive part, so that they start acting in cooperation, not in conflict. The establishment of the internal law, harmonia. When this unification is achieved, man becomes cosmos, orderly, and there we have symphonia, symphony. In Aristippus's or Plato's philosophical meaning, the omi means that the philosopher lives homios, not because of an external law, because an external law imposes it, but because he has achieved the internal agogi and the harmonia of the logos, of the internal law. So the Spartan term shows that homeotis, similarity, is always a related order concerning a common essence or principle, a logos, whether this is the agogi of Sparta or the harmony of the philosopher's soul.